All right, everybody, we got Jason here from Canada.
Hello, welcome back to True Reality Disclosure. My name is Jason Apati, and this is episode number 4, part 2 of a 2-part little mini series. Last episode was part 1, and in that episode, I was getting into quantum mechanics and just a general understanding of what it involves and what's behind it. And in this episode, I'm relaying all of that information into how this really kind of just affects your body. And of course, I have to start this episode with another quote from my favorite scientist, Nikola Tesla. And now we're going to get into the secrets in which that quote just referenced with 2 doctors named Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza. I have quite a few of their clips in here, and I apologize, this video is a little longer than I typically go with, but there's so much information that I want to convey to you. And I really think that this episode is going to be very beneficial and very positive. Well, there's a couple areas where there's a lot of text, so feel free to just pause the video. Really hope that you enjoy it, and I think there's going to be a lot of beneficial information for everyone watching this. Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to quickly go into water. Dr. Emoto Masaru, he ended up creating this water experiment. I very highly recommend everyone just go to YouTube and check out his water documentary. It is so good. But quickly, he froze water and he ended up getting different freezing shapes, as I'm going to show you right now. Our sounds actually have an impact in our surroundings. And water is so unique within us because we're actually made of so much water. As you can see in this chart I'm going to show you, even as kids, we're at 86% water level, but as we grow older in our lives, we're decreasing the amount of water. Now that's mainly because we just don't drink enough water day to day. But as we grow older, our water consumption sometimes doesn't keep up to what it should be. So we have less water in our bodies. And as you can see, outside of bones, 75% or more of these other organs are all made of water. Now, water is a very big deal within our bodies. So now we understand the importance of keeping hydrated and keeping a lot of fluids going through you because we are filled with so much water as it is. So now I'm going to get into my first video. This is Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he's going to start shedding some light as to what our thoughts are in this environment. So please enjoy this little video.
The world is in a state of evolution, and what I mean by evolution is not a physical evolution. Humans are not going to change into something different. The evolution that we're really experiencing now is an evolution in consciousness. A consciousness that has in the past separated us as individuals. A consciousness that has been programmed with a belief that life is a struggle and that we're out here to survive. We have to be in competition with each other and undercut and undermine. And we were acting as individuals, looking for our own individual power. But in today's world, there's a new understanding that the evolution is an evolution of consciousness, an evolution of an expansion of we are more than just these physical entities. That there is an energy involved. Quantum physicists started to say, what is an electron or a proton or a neutron made out of? It's made out of energy, not physical, no substance. An atom is like a nano tornado, a spinning force field. There's an illusion that we are physical entities. You're an energy field. And I go, so what the heck difference does that make? And I go, well, here's the interesting part. Particles, I can separate. Here's a particle, here's a particle. Let's talk about one particle. Energy just mixes all together. I'm sitting in a field of energy right now. So if I'm made out of energy, which I am, does it mean that the edge of my energy stops right here? And the answer is no. In quantum mechanics, I'm an energy field. Wherever I go, I'm like a broadcasting an energy. Wherever you are right now, you're broadcasting energy. And so in a Newtonian world we grew up with, this is separate from this and that's separate from this. And I go, in a quantum mechanical world, nothing is separate. Everything is an energy field with no borders to it. So what I do in my world is not just what I do in my world. What I do in my world is broadcast to everything else. And if it resonates or is in harmony with you, my energy can affect your energy. Or my energy can actually cancel your energy. Everything is interconnected. The chair I'm sitting on is energy. The air I'm in breathing with is energy. I'm energy, you're energy. We're all connected in this energy. But the fact is, energies are communications. And we vibrate and broadcast just like a radio. We're broadcasting who we are out into the field, and we alter what's going on. It is beyond language. It's a communication. It has nothing to do with words. It's an energy that's available if you just want to feel it. And I think that's the big issue. Feelings. Because feelings are telling you, you feel good? Yes, I'm having more energy. You feel bad? You feel weak? I'm having less energy. And I say, why is it relevant? It's more powerful than words. Energy can tell me, am I with people that are supporting me because I feel good around them? Or do I have a little quasi feeling of this, it doesn't feel right to me? So we have a new world that we're coming into, and it's based on the energy. And if you can read energy, you are being guided. If you can't read energy, you don't know what's going to happen next. If you follow the words, that's where we have been sold a bill of goods, where people say, yeah, these are good words, what do you think? And then I'll buy that because the words. And I say, yeah, but if you ever stop long enough to say, how do you feel about it, not what you hear about it. It empowers you beyond anything in the world. So the wake-up call now is, yeah, listen to people, fine, but feel it, people. Feel where you are. Feel, is this what I want to do? Do I want to do this or I want to do that? I say, you can ask your head and rationalize anything. But I say, don't ask the question of your head. Ask the question of your heart. Your heart is the monitor of the vibration. Your heart will give you an answer more accurate about anything in your world than your rational thinking will. One of the most powerful influences on our health is our mind. And this has been known by medicine for almost 100 years, and the public knows it as something as the placebo effect. I take the medicine, I get well, later I find out the medicine was a sugar pill. I say, well then what healed me in this process? And I say, well, it wasn't the sugar in the pill. The only thing that was the consciousness, the mind, that believed that this is the healing agent. What people don't recognize is what is called the No-Cebo effect, and that is, what is the consequence of a negative thought? And it turns out a negative thought is equally powerful as a positive thought in controlling our health, but in the opposite direction. The negative thinking can actually cause every illness and disease just from thought. So all of a sudden I say, oh, well then the health is not really controlled as much by the genes as we thought it was, but it's really controlled by the mind. The element of yoga is a control to induce positive, powerful thinking, to control your biology, your physiology, your muscles and bones. But guess what? The same chemistry coming from the brain of a yoga student is affecting the physiological body, but it also is a protective element that protects that body from things like infective agents or malfunction in the system. Just controlling my thoughts through these exercises is the exact mechanism required for someone to have a spontaneous remission from cancer, because that's what we now recognize. It was thought that caused the healing.
I hope you enjoyed that little video there. But as Dr. Bruce Lipton mentions, the placebo and nocebo effects, that in World War II, a medic named Henry Beecher first discovered this placebo effect when they ran out of morphine and started giving sugar pills to the infantry that were injured. Now, the belief systems of these wounded men, even though they were only having sugar pills, sugar with water, they didn't understand, or they didn't know that. So their belief was it was morphine. And because of that belief, it still had the same effect as morphine did. And also, I would like to point to you Anita Moorjani. I'm going to show you a photo of her. Now, this woman, I would strongly recommend looking her up on YouTube and listening to Dying to Be Me, her video. It is so good. With this next video I'm going to show you, it's also from Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he's going to take a little bit more of a deep dive into how your thoughts truly work around your environment and how this kind of resides and connects with your genes and your epigenes or epigenetics.
The function of the mind is to create coherence between what we believe and the reality that we experience. So all of a sudden we start to see that our thoughts, whether they're right or they're wrong, are actually changing our biology. Now, this idea of thoughts controlling our life is not new. 2,500 years ago, the Buddha said, "What we think, we become." And in fact, that is exactly the story of epigenetics today. Epigenetics is saying what you're thinking is translated into chemistry, which will determine what you will become. So, 2,500 years later, Buddha is right, but now we know the mechanism. So the question is, how much of our disease is actually controlled by defective proteins? And the most amazing fact is this, that flawed genes cause less than 1% of disease. The other cause of disease must be some alteration in the signal. So I say, the signal can cause up to 90% or more of disease that we experience on the planet. I say, well, how can the signal interfere with health? Toxic chemicals can engage in the signal pathway, but if they do, they don't promote a normal signal propagation. Toxic chemistry can distort the signal. So relevance is this. If the brain is sending a signal to control the cells and there's toxic chemistry in the pathway, then the signal that reaches the cells is by definition altered, and therefore the behavior of the altered cells can lead to disease. If we have a disease due to thought, it's not because the body is defective, it's because the signal is inappropriate. And this is really important because it is recognized now that our consciousness is the primary problem in the issues of health on this planet, especially as they relate to stress. And that this issue is nothing organically wrong with the body. It's just that we're sending inappropriate signals at an inappropriate time, which leads to inappropriate behavior, which we call disease.
Now, in that sense, your DNA, if you can think about an architecture office, before a building actually gets designed, you have to come up with blueprints. Now, the blueprints will tell you how to build the entire building, but it's not actually going to build the building for you. They're just drawings. They just sit there. So it's the construction workers and everybody else included that actually get in beyond those, that actually take those plans and put it into reality and build the building. So our genes are more like the architecture plans, and our proteins are kind of like the construction workers. So our genes are the plans, our protein is a construction workers. Me being a designer myself, I really like that analogy. So this next video I'm going to show you is from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, this particular clip is from a Q&A from a trip that he was at, but I thought it was very relevant to the topic here in this episode. So I hope you enjoy this. Thank you.
I was curious about the concept of emotional repression. What I'm getting from this work is that we have negative emotions and we put out an emotional signature of what we want to create, and every time something comes that goes against that, we change and we go back to our original plan. But if we have somebody with trauma from their past and there's a repression there, they're trying to avoid it, how does that fit in? This type of work parts of it sound like repression and other parts sound like, creation. At what point do we
Great question.
separate
Great
the
question.
two?
So have you ever heard me say that emotions are bad? No. Have you?
No.
No, emotions are the end product of an experience. So then, do I react in my life? Yep, I do. But the question is, how long are you going to react? That's the real question. Because if you keep that emotional reaction going on for an extended period of time, sooner or later it'll become your identity. And then people say, why are you so bitter? Why are you so frustrated? Why are you suffering so much? And your brain, in that emotion, you're in the emotion, which means you're in the chemical residue of the past, is going to call up the event because you're emotionally connected to it. And you're going to say, I'm this way because of that past experience. So then, imagine what I do with people. We have people that have been abused. We have people that have been traumatized, that have been assaulted. We have people that have had very, very difficult pasts. And all of a sudden, it's a group of sensations, a group of feelings that they have called all along frustration. But the different sensations, the moment you name it, it becomes an emotion. But what it is just bodily sensations. It's energy that's stuck in the body. So the body is looking to go back to the past. It's believing it's in the past. Are you with me still? Yes. So if the person becomes aware that their body is doing that, and like training an animal, allow the body to feel that emotion and then settle it down into the present moment. When you settle it down into the present moment, the body starts to trust the present moment and move out of the past. And there's a release of energy. Then the body goes, well, wait a second, what's going to happen in the next moment? And it starts doing that. And it starts to try and anticipate the future. And you settle the body back down into the present moment. And every time you do that, you're telling the body it's no longer the mind. That you're the mind, and your will is getting greater than the program, and all of a sudden you start to lower the volume to that emotion. And when you begin to break the addiction to that emotion, the side effect of breaking that addiction is called joy. It's called freedom. All of a sudden the body's saying, I don't want to be tormented anymore. And so I don't have a problem with moving through the stages of emotions. But I also know that what a person really wants more than anything else is to be free. People want to be free. And I have witnessed transformation on every culture, on every skin color, every shape, every size, every age. I've witnessed it. And the same radiance that takes place in a person's face, a light behind their eyes, a different physical presentation of their face is eminent. It's real. And that person has worked to overcome themselves. And so it's not that we shouldn't feel emotions. We should feel those emotions and feel them completely. And like a child, get over it, though. And just let it out and then go. Cross the river. Get beyond yourself and get beyond that emotion. And the memory without the emotional charge is wisdom. And that's the name of the game, because the soul can't go to the future, can't create a new adventure, can't journey back to source if you're living by some emotion that's keeping you in the past. The soul doesn't even know what to dream about. It can't, because it's seeing the future through the lens of the past. So then when the person starts coming up against themselves and they're sitting there and you say you create your reality, all right, well, then I'm going to have a thought about what I want, but they can't control their thoughts. That's because their body's influencing their mind. So the only way they're going to begin to liberate energy is to be still, to be greater than their body. And every time they settle it back into the present moment, they're lowering the volume to that emotion, and now they become the mind. And the body is no longer the mind. And when the body is finally free, they'll see possibilities they never saw before. I've seen it too many times. And all of a sudden, all that person wants to do is be in the present moment and become more happy. They want more of that. And you're settling it down and you're working with it. You got to agree with me that something greater in you is climbing out of that body. Something greater in you is awakening. And when you're able to overcome those emotions, truly break the addiction, don't you know that you'll return back to your life and face the person that betrayed you? And you will see a part of yourself that you used to be that you no longer are, and you're not going to have anything else but love for them. In fact, you're going to have compassion for them because you're going to realize how stuck they are, and you're liberated and free. True forgiveness is when you take your attention off somebody because you've overcome the emotion, and that gives them permission to show up differently in your life because you freed yourself and you freed them.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. Now, that video that I just showed you really referenced what I was kind of talking about, my traumas in my first, and how I kind of went through them in my second video as well. So he really did a great job at explaining that, and I really hope that you found some benefit in that video. Now, with this and clearing your mind and having this understanding and finding joy, you're changing your cells from a stress environment, which is not really conductive to your body or your immune system, to a loving environment, joyful environment, which is very, very productive for your immune system. Also, from Dr. Joe Dispenza, he goes into how the immunity system is affected by your thoughts and your beliefs, and how you can kind of make it better for yourself, especially in this time that we're in right now.
To teach our body to break that pattern of constantly being in survival. And when we start to feel elevated emotions, we feel less separate from everyone and everything, and we start to feel more connected to everyone and everything. And when we do this properly and we start to open our hearts, our research shows that we begin to strengthen our immune system. In fact, our research shows that for 10 minutes a day, 3 times a day, if you practiced feeling those elevated emotions, you would begin to release an immunoglobulin called immunoglobulin A, which is your body's primary defense against bacteria and viruses. It is the body's natural flu shot that creates an immunity to the environment, both macroscopically and microscopically. So then 10 minutes a day, 3 times a day, changing your mood and breaking the stress response and teaching your body that it feels safe enough to be in the present moment, that it can create, that it's moving out of survival. Doing this properly, the body's so objective that it does not know the difference between the experience and the environment that's creating the emotion of love and gratitude, and you doing it by volition. Your body begins to move more into the present moment, and here comes the parasympathetic nervous system, and now its job is to restore, to rebalance, to repair, to increase metabolic functions, to release 1,300 different chemicals that can begin to restore and repair your body. The body now is moving out of emergency, and there are resources to heal. And so feeling those heart-centered emotions and changing from fear, say, to love is going to begin to cause those white blood cells, those plasma cells, to release the proper proteins epigenetically that are going to cause your body to have a strength against any virus, bacteria, fungus, or mold, or even cancer cell. And we've proven that our students, by reversing cancer, have done this very exact thing.
I hope you enjoyed that video. Now, another person I didn't get into in this video just because it's already a little longer than what I wanted it to, but I have to mention Wim Hof. Now, you hear a lot about breathing techniques and breathing, concentrate on your breathing. I would strongly, strongly recommend you to do some research on Wim Hof, the Iceman. I'm going to show you a couple slides right now, showing you what he looks like and some of his stuff. So that's Wim Hof. Please do some research with him. He has some amazing, amazing stories and a lot of Guinness World Book of Records as well. So now I want to end this episode on a high note. And what can you start doing yourself to start really kind of taking control of your life? So I'm going to leave you with this last episode from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And please enjoy this little clip and just simple little things you can start doing in your life to start making a change and becoming more joyful and happy. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and peace be with you. Also, always, please think for yourself. We'll see you next time. And this is True Reality Disclosure. I'm Jason Nepati. Thank you.
Hi everybody, Dr. Joe Dispenza here. I want to take a moment and teach you some basic tools to begin to change your life. When you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. Number one, take some time out of your busy lives to disconnect from your world. Shut your cell phone off, turn the TV off, power down your computer, sit your body down for a few minutes and close your eyes. Number one. Number two, take some breaths and center yourself. When you center your attention into the present moment, you have more energy to create with. When your mind wanders to the predictable future or the familiar past, that's normal. Just become aware of it and keep working on settling yourself back down into the present moment. When you're in the present moment, you're the most creative. Number three, ask yourself, can I be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past? What do I want in my life? And take the time to answer the question. As you begin to contemplate and think about the answer to the question, you're changing your brain. When you make your brain fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations, that's the beginning steps of changing your mind. Next, decide on the emotions you'll feel when you begin to create that future, and teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like. And don't get up until you begin to feel those emotions. Next step, step number four, rehearse in your mind who you're going to be when you open your eyes, the things you have to do, the choices you have to make, the steps you have to take, and review them over and over again. Number five, you can't go to the future holding on to the biology of your past. Decide what thoughts you can bring to your future. Write them down. Thoughts like, I can't, it's too hard, I'll never change, I'll start tomorrow, what's wrong with me, it's someone else's fault. Decide on what behaviors or actions or unconscious habits you have to change. How do you talk? Do you complain? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? Do you feel sorry for yourself? Just become so conscious of those behaviors that you'll never go unconscious again. And lastly, you have to decide what emotions no longer belong in your future. That means if you want to be wealthy, you can't take lack. If you want to be healthy, you can't take insecurity or fear. You got to begin to condition your body to a new mind. If you do this every single day, your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. Change any one of those things and you change your life. And begin to measure the effects of you at cause. Give it a shot.